Yo, the price of Bitcoin is dumping, but billionaire Michael Saylor still thinks we're going to see 150K by the end of the year. And he's even doubled down on his 2029 Bitcoin predictions. Does he know something that we all don't know? Anyways, check out this latest clip from, I think it was called Money 2020. Let's check it out. And then, of course, me and Opti will talk about it. And of course, I'm happy to be back.
About where you see Bitcoin hitting at the end of the year and in a year from now when we're back at this conference?
Well, I think Bitcoin's going to continue to grind up. I think the volatility is coming off of it as the industry becomes more structured with more derivatives and more ways to hedge it. Our expectation right now is end of the year, it should be about $150,000. And that's the consensus of the equity analysts that cover our company and the Bitcoin industry right now. I don't know why it won't grind up to $1 million a coin over the next 4 to 8 years. I would think not less than 4, not more than 8. And of course, my long-term forecast is it goes up about 30% a year for the next 20 years, and we're headed toward $20 million Bitcoin.
Michael, thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
That's right. That's Michael Saylor's latest interview from Money 2020 that was recorded on October 27th of 2025. And again, just to give a quick recap, Saylor said 150K by the end of the year, which I think is quite conservative, $1 million over the next 4 to 8 years, and $20 million over the next 20 years. Nobody's got time for that, though. Anyways, so I do want to share this this chart just to kind of show you guys we are in uncharted territory. We have not. This is not normal for Bitcoin to do these things. I think a lot of the uncertainty that a lot of people feel, a lot of the desperation that we see on Bitcoin X was with this anticipation of the usual cycle playing out. So what do I mean by that? 3 years green, 1 year red. We had a fantastic 2023. We had a great 2024. But historically, what tends to happen is that Bitcoin peaks the year after the halving. Well, it's been the year after the halving. When Donald Trump was inaugurated, the price of Bitcoin was at $109,000 per coin. Fast forward 10 months later. That's right. We're all 10 months older. And Bitcoin is currently sitting at $108,000 per coin. It's $1,000 less than when Trump was inaugurated. This was not the promise that was made to us during the Bitcoin conference of 2024. Now, I got my own theories as to why this is happening. I'll get to those during the news segment. We got a jam-packed show. But first, I do want to show you guys this. Again, this is unprecedented. This has never happened before in Bitcoin's history. So let's take a look at Bitcoin's monthly returns. This goes back all the way back to 2023. October, or as everyone calls it, Uptober, has tended to be one of the best performing months in Bitcoin's history, especially the year after the halving. As things currently stands, Bitcoin looks like it actually might have a red October. I think that's the name of a movie, actually. So with Sean Connery and stuff. So Bitcoin might have a red October, not a green October. Now, this person's putting things together that I think I don't think there's any type of correlation. But the last time this happened was 2018. 2018 was the year of a bear market. It was the year after 2017. 2017 was explosive. We went from $1,000 to we ended the year with $20,000. And then, of course, 2018 was the bear market year. Now, the bear market year is supposed to start in 2026 if we are to follow the halvings. I mean, the previous cycle halvings and all that stuff. But, I mean, if it follows the pattern of 2018, we're in for a world of pain in November. That's right. It hasn't stopped yet. And another thing that I was talking to Opti about is if you take a look at the Wall Street cheat sheet, something that Opti and I have been talking about for quite a while now, we haven't even, we didn't even enter the euphoria phase this cycle. Like there was no euphoria phase. It just went from hope, belief to straight despair and anger. We skipped all the good parts, right? And this is what Michael Saylor was talking about, when he was basically saying like, look, like the volatility has been taken because of the institutional interest and stuff. And it just kind of reminded me of this meme that this person posted, I think is extremely fitting towards this situation. So the Wall Street psychology of a market. So Opti and I were talking about this a couple months ago, right before October. We started October super strong. We hit an all-time high. And then I had a feeling because this cycle has been really strange and really weird since the institutions got involved. And I put a lot of thought into this last night. We're going to be talking about it during the news segment. We're going to be doing more of a deeper dive. But since the institutions got involved, Bitcoin has been acting different. It's a different game. Wall Street is involved now. Wall Street wants your coins. And I think Wall Street has a way of getting your coins, which is boring you until you start, playing games with them, whether that's investing in other assets and other stuff while they pack their bags, right? I have another theory as to why this is happening as well, but you guys are going to want to stay tuned till I get to that. If you guys are enjoying the show so far, of course, smash that like button, hit subscribe. It really, really helps getting the orange signal forward. But anyways, let's take a look at this meme. So starting in the disbelief phase, this rally will fail like all others. Then hope, a recovery is possible. Then optimism, belief, thrill, euphoria, complacency, anxiety, denial, panic, capitulation, anger, depression, deeper depression. So we went from disbelief, hope to, when we hit all-time highs, I would say maybe the beginnings of optimism. And then we went straight to anger, depression, deeper depression, rector, ultimate rector, annihilation, dinosaur extinction event. Again, this is supposed to be October. We never got it, but at least there is a silver lining. We had the FOMC meeting yesterday, and Powell once again lowered rates. But he also threw a lot of uncertainty in the markets. He said that it's not 100% certain that he's going to lower rates in December, but he did mention that QT was going to end in December. So money printer, go Burr, which I think is a positive thing. Here is another post that kind of breaks down how Bitcoin performed over 12 months around Fed policy shifts. And it breaks it down. Start of QE 2012, it goes up 900%. End of QE 2014 goes down 21%. Start of QT, so quantitative tightening, goes up 40%, 45%. End of QT goes up 16%. Start of QE 2020 goes up 1,080%. Can you imagine, ladies and gentlemen, Bitcoin going up 1,000%? I remember those days. I think those days might be long gone, Opti. I don't know what you think. End of QE, negative 45%. Start of QT, up 20%. End of QT, December 2025, incoming rocket ship. Every Bitcoin bull run starts with liquidity. I mean, we shall see. And then I'll end it with this before I pass it on to Opti. We'll open up the conversation. The fear and greed index has actually been quite accurate in kind of predicting the ups, the valleys and the peaks, right? So, every single time we've had this kind of like a run up, you have greed in the market, right? Last time, this was the beginning of 2024, right? We went into the greed section. Then we kind of went sideways for, I think this was like 6 months. It was absolutely grueling. And then we actually had some upward price action, believe it or not. We went from $66K to $100,000, $106,000. Then we went into the extreme greed territory. We started consolidating a bit. We went into fear. That's right. That was in the middle of the year when we went from 109K down to 76K. We entered into the extreme greed territory, and then we started going back up, and then we hit an all-time high of $126,000. But as we stand today, we're back in the fear side of things. So if history shows, every time we're in the fear side of things, and the fear and greed index, things seem to look positive heading into the future. So anyways, that's kind of the breakdown. Michael Saylor, obviously still ultra mega bullish. I mean, his entire company is riding on the future fate of Bitcoin. So yeah, of course he's going to be bullish, but the TLDR and his predictions are, again, 150K minimum by the end of this year, $1 million he predicts by the next 4 to 8 years, and then $20 million over the next 20 years. But I'll say it again, nobody got time for that. So yeah, man, I mean, this is pretty crazy. Happy to be back in the studio here in Miami Beach. Happy to be back with all you guys. I was traveling. I was in Montreal. I went to Lugano in Switzerland. Shout out to the Plan B Forum and the Tether team. They throw an amazing conference. So that was a whole lot of fun. We're going to be talking about that during the culture segment. But man, oh man, why am I getting a call?
Boomer.
Silence your cell phones, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, you know, this is pretty interesting, Opti. I think, you know, Bitcoin has a way of taking expectations and just grinding them down, I would say. And I think a lot of people were expecting Uptober. You know, I think Uptober is very famous in Bitcoin circles. And you know, this is this is uncharted territory, as I showed in the chart. We've never experienced this before, man. So
it is no longer Uptober. It is just Rectober or October. It's over, guys. No, I mean, first of all, I do want to talk about the Sailor clip, and then you guys are asking for a macro Opti take on this. First off, I didn't Sailor for a while. He was a lot more bullish there earlier in the year. I think he was saying like 200K, and it is interesting that now he's saying 150K. So I don't know if he's actually becoming more bearish here, or is this just some bullish optimism right now? I know this came out a few days ago. The price has been lackluster, to say the least. It's been a pretty rough October overall. I don't really agree with the bearish take that we're going to see a negative November, but who knows what's going on. I think the takeaway here, and Nico said he's going to talk about this a little more. I think the takeaway here is we are being bored to death here. I think this is what's going on. Obviously, I've been making the case that since we saw the BlackRocks and the other institutions and the nation states start to come into Bitcoin, you got to remember, they are coming late to the party. And most of the coin is being held by self-custody, by individuals. And so what is the mechanism for them to acquire as much coin as they claim to? Obviously, they don't want to buy these at high prices. So I think they are trying to shake everyone out. I think it's pretty obvious at this point that they're trying to shake out the weak hands here. Even the long-term believers, we're getting bored to death here. And the more that I feel that everyone is getting bearish, the more I start to get maybe contrarian, and I think it's going to go up. So I still have hope. End of year, I think 150K is a conservative bet. Obviously, at this point, Nico, you know, the $1 million predictions, we're just like, I'm tired, boss. Can we just see some action by the end of the year? At this point, I don't really care what's going to happen in 4, 8, 20 years. It's just like, what's going to happen this year? But with all that being said, it is very interesting that actually, will you pull up the Wall Street cheat sheet again? Because we were laughing about it earlier, guys, where we got no euphoria a couple of months ago, maybe like before October, I think it was. We were let's pull this up. So zoom in a little bit on the actual if you can, on the actual Wall Street cheat sheet and not just the meme part of it. Okay, anyways, here, maybe I'll pull one up real quick. But it is very interesting that last time we kind of pulled this up, or rather, you know, a few weeks ago when Nico was still here, we were getting kind of bullish, and we thought that potentially we were in the hope and optimism stage. Here, I got it. And now it seems like we just completely, we're getting crazy over here. It looks like we have completely bypassed the thrill and euphoria blow off top. We were in that hope stage. Then maybe the optimism. I know I was on here like we're in optimism. The rally is real. It looks like we skipped all of this fun part and we're just in anger. Who shorted the market? Why did the government allow this to happen? And soon enough, we will be in depression. So, you know, that meme is, I think, pretty on point. I still think 150K by end of the year is still in play. Though, I don't know if you guys saw, but this last drop, guys, it's really kind of depressing. I'm not going to lie. Like Bitcoin, as of now, we have underperformed the S&P 500 year to date. S&P 500's up like 16-ish%. We're up 14-ish%. So remember, I've been telling you guys, trolling on the show, hey, it seems like we're trading the S&P 500. Well, it seems as of now, we're trading something worse than the S&P 500. We're barely beating inflation at this point, which it can't stay like this is all I'm really saying. So the macro stuff, guys, I told you this yesterday. I told you that most likely after the FOMC rate cuts, that we're probably going to see a dip. It did dip lower than I thought it was. I was thinking it was going to be kind of like the 109, 110 range. Obviously, it went down to 107. Now it's kind of rebounded to the 108 range. And I do still think it's going to go up later. Like we saw that usually when the rate cuts are announced, it does dip a little bit, something around like a 6 to 8%. But in the short term following it, about a month or two after, is when we start breaking new all-time highs. So if that pattern still kind of plays out, I think we're still going to go up. And I know the depression that everyone's feeling and kind of just a complete boredom. I think that's a sign of where we are in the market. Obviously, if you're in Bitcoin, as the classic meme goes, it always feels dumpiest before it is pumpiest. And I think we are in the dump right now. Now, I don't want to be this is the last capitulation dump, because I've been saying that every time. I'm like the classic, all right, I buy this dip and then it dips more, and then you buy the dip and it dips more, and you're just like, okay, I'm finally out of money here. So I don't know if this is the last dump, but it is starting to feel like, okay, like we can't stay here for that much longer. And again, I was telling you this morning, Nico, you know, we're under the 200-day moving average right now. We're underperforming the S&P 500. Like, this is absolutely brutal. This year has been completely uncharted waters. But when you listen to what Jerome Powell said yesterday, on one hand, it's extremely bullish in terms of asset prices. They're going to go up because he basically admitted QT is over. Obviously, he said that the December rate cuts aren't fully priced in, but QT is ending December 1st. And essentially what he's saying, you know, like the translation, it's just math. The Fed will print again. Now, there is kind of, I don't know, a take that you could say here that it's not actually going to be printed money. Like, they're not going to inject a bunch of money into the system, but what they're doing is they're going to basically, you know, add to their balance sheet. And so technically you could argue that it's not money printing, but mechanically it is money printing. And it really leans back into what Lynn Alden says. They're not injecting liquidity into the system for growth. They're literally preventing a collapse. Like, they can have to print money. They are backed in a corner. They have to continue to print. They're going to frame this however they want. The narrative they want to spin on this is always going to be like, oh, we're not actually printing money. We're not back into quantitative easing. In practicality, they're going to inject the system with more liquidity. That's like the most obvious thing going on right now. But in terms of Bitcoin, it is it's just crazy to see what's going on with the price.
I want to read some of these comments before we move on to the next segment. So first, Tule Powell never fails, which I think is hilarious. I can't pronounce that name, but he says, and all the FUD QE's back, burr, nothing stops this train until it crashes. Ron, who's been a Simply Bitcoin OG, says this entire show has been one long bottom.
True.
So far.
Hey, Ron, you were feeling the pain yesterday, bro. Come on.
Now here's the signal. Here's the signal. I think this is why, like, it's been difficult for Bitcoiners, right? NASDAQ pumped all of October. Well, I got something better for you guys.
Rip.
Right? Gold pumped all of October.
Rip.
So if gold and the NASDAQ are outperforming Bitcoin, right?
Pack it up, boys. It's over.
So there's a lot of reasons as to, there's a lot of people that are speculating as to why this is happening. And we're going to get to all of that and more during the show. But I do want to pull up this post by James Lavish first. So James Lavish, here, let me switch that. There we go. So James Lavish says, good afternoon. Things we heard from the Fed today. Rate cuts by 25 basis points. Though Fed may not cut again, it will stop QT in December. 3, Fed knows they will need to expand bank reserves in the near future. Resume QE. Translated, it is just math. The Fed will print again. Have a great night. But have we gotten here as Bitcoiners that we're literally waiting and praying for the central bank of the United States to print money for Bitcoin to pump?
Well, I think we've actually been kind of flushing this idea out on the show. I think yeah, of course, now Bitcoiners are watching the FOMC meeting. We used to make fun of it. Now we watch it because there has been this correlation between Bitcoin and traditional financial products, NASDAQ, S&P 500, because the institutions are in Bitcoin now. You have to remember it's a new investor. So these people pay attention to what Jay Powell says. This is how they basically are able to allocate their resources. This is how they're able to deploy their capital. So I think this is why we're seeing this correlation right now, is because Bitcoin has become, a legitimate macro asset. And as much as I don't like to listen to Jay Powell, as much as I really don't care about what the Federal Reserve does, people that have a lot of capital are watching this. And so I think that's why it's becoming more prevalent amongst Bitcoiners. That'd be my take.
Yeah. And I see a lot of people saying oh, you guys are just, you guys are just downers. What are you talking about?
Yeah, they've been calling me a bear and a futter for a while.
You guys are just downers. What are you talking about? Look, I'm just telling you guys the blunt facts, right? Gold has outperformed Bitcoin this year. That's blunt fact number 1. Blunt fact number 2, we've literally gone sideways for 10 months. There's no other way of because I know that I see it a lot with a lot of people on X, and the way they try to they'll say it a certain way and they'll be no, but this is what's actually happening, and this is what's actually happening. And what I say is look, no matter how way you want to spin it, the fact is that Bitcoin has gone sideways for the last 10 months, right? And the whole point of Bitcoin is NGU technology. Anyone who tells you otherwise is lying to you. And the price is the number one catalyst for adoption. That's why people adopt Bitcoin. That's why Michael Saylor adopted Bitcoin. That's why, your uncle, your grandfather, your mother, your father, you tell them for years about Bitcoin, they don't listen to you. And then eventually they pile into Bitcoin. The reason for that is simple. Number go up, right? So hasn't gone up for 10 months. Now, the silver lining to this, though, is that because we haven't had a parabola, I don't think we're going to get a crazy, crazy dump. But I could be wrong on that too, right? Who knows? But anyways, to end it here, before we move on to the next segment, here's the thing. The next 2 months, we're really going to find out what the F is going on in Bitcoin. And I think in the first half of 2026, we're going to find out as well. Is this an extended cycle? A lot of people are talking about that. We're going to be talking about during the news segment. And if it is an extended cycle, then we are in uncharted territory. I've been saying, I think for the last couple of months, that we've been in uncharted territory. Bitcoin is not acting like it normally acts. And I think the reason as to why that is happening is because of the institutional involvement. I think since the approval of the ETF in January of 2024, the fact that the Bitcoin ETF is the most profitable ETF for BlackRock, things have changed. Retail is nowhere to be found. If you look at Google Trends and you put in Bitcoin, we haven't even overtaken the 2021 all-time highs. So retail doesn't even know Bitcoin exists. So this is completely driven by institutions. So institutional demand for Bitcoin. Now, the reason that I feel a little bit wary about that is because, again, I think that if most people just bought spot Bitcoin and put it in self-custody, I think we'd be at 500K by now. I'm not even kidding, right? But I think we have like, I think we have a lot of these institutions. You have a lot of these inflows that are saying, people are saying, I saw this post by George Bodine. I do really want to pull it up because it relates to all this. And he's basically saying like the only reason that this is happening is because OGs are selling Bitcoin, and that's the primary reason as to why the price is doing what it's doing. So I don't know how you feel about that. I don't know what you guys think about that. I'll share the screen right now.
Yeah, the chat says they're gonna have Peter Schiff toast next.
I know, right? The number one question I keep hearing is, quote, with all the demand for Bitcoin from institutions, sovereign wealth funds, why is the Bitcoin price not going higher? I actually asked him this when he went on the podcast lately. And I will tell you what I recently told BitVault on a podcast. Long-term holders are selling. It's just that simple, kids. They're taking profits after significantly holding Bitcoin for some years. Some have held since 2011 and are now selling. Between 58K rising up to 98K, there were 1 million coins sold from long-term holders. Right now, as I write this, long-term holders are selling over 100,000 coins per month, 3,000 coins per day. But this is so incredibly positive because these coins are being bought. We have not crashed as I thought we would have. There is a relentless underpinning bid that is putting new price discovery in every one of these coins. We are creating a new cohort of coins that others view valuable above 100K. We are increasing the realized cap of Bitcoin every day. That is incredibly bullish for the long term. Someday you will be that long-term hodler with incredible wealth and time. You might want to buy something. As a pilot, I know what I want to do. Do you? And of course, he puts a picture of a biplane. So yeah, man, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I'm just kind of, I think me and Opti are we have our finger on the vibe of just the overall cycle. But the fact is that we've gone sideways for 10 months, ladies and gentlemen. There's no way you can spin that. Like, that's just a fact, right?
I mean, and on that point, it's like, depending on what you think inflation is, at the current price movement, the sideways action of Bitcoin, we're like barely beating inflation. And that's pretty brutal, guys. So look, I think it's going to rip, but I don't know. A year ago, Ron said in the chat, look, this is the same price it was when we were hanging out in Vegas. So like, hey man, 10 months older and completely flat. Flatlining literally means you're unalived. Okay. We need some volatility. Actually, I was joking to Nico this morning. We asked for volatility. We just weren't specific on which way it's supposed to go. So maybe next time we pray about things, we should be a little more specific, Nico.
So and then I do want to pull this up, right? And again, guys, I'm just being a realist. So like, please, like, don't give me like this is all real. Like you can verify all of this stuff yourself, right? So this is Bitcoin versus gold chart. And I actually got to interview Peter Schiff at the Bitcoin conference in Las Vegas. And he was like flexing about this, right? So this is not Bitcoin to USD because Bitcoin to USD made all-time highs. You can make an argument that if you adjust for inflation, right, actually Bitcoin USD hasn't actually made all-time highs. But let's compare it to gold, shall we? Because again, Bitcoin is supposed to be the thing that replaces gold. Gold currently is at a $30 trillion market cap. Like, it's something crazy.
I think it's down. It lost a couple trillion. But so it's probably like 27 or something.
It's like at some crazy number. Bitcoin's at 2 trillion, right? So like, that's a long way to catch up, right? I think when we started talking about Bitcoin catching up gold was at like a $16 trillion market cap.
All right, hold on. Correction. Sorry. The market cap is at 36 billion, at least according.
Trillion.
Oh yeah, sorry, trillion. No. 27.8 trillion. Sorry, 27. Guys, 27.
I know it hit 30.
It did hit 30.
So, okay, so this is Bitcoin versus gold, right? So again, here is the Bitcoin price in grams of gold, right? And here's 2021, right? And here is the Bitcoin price in terms of gold, and here's 2025. As you could see, it did touch an all-time high, but barely. Like I think by like a factor of like $100 basically. So yeah, I mean, that's 4 years, bro. That's 4 years, right? 2021, 2025, that's 4 years. So you can interpret this in many different ways. I'm going to give you guys a counter spin to what everyone else is talking about, just in the Bitcoin verse, just in general, Bitcoin X. I think we're in uncharted territory. I think that a lot of people were expecting Bitcoin to go up. And here's the thing. Bitcoin tends to do the exact opposite of what everybody anticipates. That's how Bitcoin works. That's how it's always worked, right? And one of the things that worried me in the beginning of the year, you guys could go back to those earlier shows, and I was telling Opti, I said, you know what kind of worries me is that every single person and their mother is expecting Bitcoin to moon at the end of 2025, right? And here we are at the end of 2025, and guess what? Bitcoin is doing the exact opposite of what everyone else is anticipating, what everyone has anticipated. Just like the 2021 bull market, when everyone thought Bitcoin was going to hit $100,000, Yellow started the famous spaces, don't stop believing, hodl to that feeling. And it took them 4 years until that prophecy was fulfilled, right? Now, here's what I think, okay? And I could be wrong here. This is not financial advice. What happens if Bitcoin breaks the 4-year cycle? You know how many people are going to be completely caught off guard if Bitcoin keeps ripping into 2026? And I'm going to lay out the case as to why that could happen. And this is what we're going to be talking about during the news. We started the show with a lot of doomerism. I wouldn't call it doomerism. I would call it reality, because that's what it is. Reality. Bitcoin has gone sideways for 10 months. That's the reality. Bitcoin has barely outperformed gold for 4 years. Both the NASDAQ and gold have mooned in October, and Bitcoin has done nothing. That's the reality of it. And at the end of the day, we're simply Bitcoin. We're going to tell you guys the truth. Now, what would catch everyone by the wayside? Everyone starts selling in December saying, hey, the cycle's over, it's done. And boom, Bitcoin rips into 2026. Now, I'm not a fortune teller, right? Bitcoin has never done that. Bitcoin has never broken the 4-year cycles. But there's a lot of things that are different this time. And it goes back to the meme, this time is different, right? There's a lot of things that are different this time. The institutional involvement of the Wall Street's involvement in the Bitcoin market, I think, has fundamentally changed the game completely. And I think a lot of people are not adjusting their outlook on that, right? Based on that. So we're going to be talking about that during the news segment. We have a lot to unpack today, talk about. We're going to do a recap of my trip to Lugano. I had some crazy interviews with Saifedean, the CEO of Rumble, Paulo, the CEO of Tether, Samson Mao, Adam Back. So it was a fantastic conference. We're going to be dropping those interviews for you guys over the next month or so. So this is going to be a great show. We're going to be talking about this because I know this is what is on a lot of people's minds. You guys are bored to death. You just like, the meme of the thing poking Bitcoin do something. Well, we've been poking Bitcoin for 4 years and it hasn't done anything, right? Like that kind of sucks. So anyways, we're going to be talking about all that and more. So guys, stay tuned, smash the like button. It's going to be a great show. But before we get into it, I do want to give a very special shout out, of course, to our lead sponsor. Guys, you guys want to check out bitcoinwell.com. Buy real Bitcoin. The reason we recommend Bitcoin Well is that it's an automatic self-custody Bitcoin platform. What does that mean? It means that when you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, as soon as the funds clear, it goes straight to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet address. It doesn't even give you the ability to leave your Bitcoin on the exchange, which of course perfectly aligns with the Simply Bitcoin ethos of the separation of money and state, because after all, self-custody is the revolution. If you're a higher net worth individual looking to buy $50,000 worth of Bitcoin or more, I want you guys to check out Bitcoin Well Infinite. All you got to do is go to bitcoinwell.com/OTC. You set up a meeting with their team, and bada bing, bada boom, you're ready to buy Bitcoin. This is designed for people that are looking to buy $50,000 worth of Bitcoin or more. This is for family offices, high net worth individuals, trusts, and organizations. So go to bitcoinwell.com/OTC to get started today. Also, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Stamp Seed. Guys, go get yourself a Stamp Seed kit today. They just dropped the 12-word Stamp Seed kit. You guys, this was very, very requested by everybody. They had the 24-word plates. People wanted the 12-word plates, so our friends over at Stamp Seed did just that. So head over to stampseed.com today. Don't write down your seed words on paper. Stamp them into titanium. It comes with the hammer. It comes with the letter stamping tools. It comes with the plates. Everything you need for you to hammer in the safety of your own home, in the privacy of your home, in your own home. Hammer your seed words into a plate of titanium, which will survive the test of time. Scan the QR code or check the link in the video description and use the promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store. All right, everybody, let's get to the numbers. We have lots to cover. So at the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $106,880. The block height is 921,489 sats per dollar, 936.35 sats per dollar. It's getting worse. Market cap 2.13 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap 7.55%. I remember when that was at 9%, and I was so happy. I was like, oh my God, Bitcoin's at 9%. It's going to get to 50%. It's going to get to 100%. No, we went down. Gold has been kicking our butts, and that's just the reality of it, man. Decline from all-time high. If you buy Bitcoin right now, you're getting it at a 15% discount. The realized monetary inflation rate of Bitcoin is at 0.844%. At least that stays the same. Anyways, I got a clip loaded up for you guys. I'm going to play it, and then Opti and I shall talk about it. Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, everyone at one point or the other bows down to the king. And of course, you have the CEO, Jamie Dimon, admitting that Bitcoin isn't going away.
Skeptical of crypto at one point. You're still skeptical.
I've gotten away with no damage so far. Crypto is real. If you mean blockchain, stable coins, you have a JP Morgan deposit coin, you can move stuff, smart contracts are real, all that stuff is real. It will be used by all of us to facilitate, better transactions and customer service.
If anybody.
So that's right, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, he's not admitting that Bitcoin is here to stay, but he's admitting that, listen, this crypto stuff, this Bitcoin stuff is not going away, right? You had Jamie Dimon basically, screaming from the rooftops for I don't know how long that, Bitcoin was useless, that Bitcoin was for drug dealers, that Bitcoin wasn't going to amount to anything. That was his narrative for the longest time. And now all of a sudden here you have him and a symposium, this round table with all the elites basically saying, like, look, it's here to stay. I was wrong. Right. And remember this, Michael Saylor said the same thing. Larry Fink said the same thing. Donald Trump said the same thing. And now Jamie Dimon, one of the harshest critics of Bitcoin, not completely admitting Bitcoin is useful, but he is admitting that, hey, this thing's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. Of course, he's shilling his own stablecoin, it seems, but hey, at least it's a step in the right direction. I'm not going to say that we've won yet until Christine Lagarde goes on. She said, you know what, Bitcoin, in her accent and everything, she said Bitcoin is useful. I don't think that's ever going to happen. I think hell's going to freeze over before that happens. I think we're going to see, the deep freeze of the universe before that ever happens. But a man could wish for things. I think we've seen crazier realities than what I just described. So anyways, I'm going to pass it on to Opti. Opti, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, that we're admitting victory right now, aren't we?
I don't know. I don't know if we can do that. I think it's a little early. I mean, you got to listen to what he said. He said crypto and stable coins, which is obviously the JP Morgan stable coin is what they're talking about. They're about to implement. And then they did just launch the, JP Morgan Bitcoin Ether as collateral. And so I think we can claim victory when he is just purely Bitcoin, when he goes out there and he actually says the B word. He says Bitcoin, not crypto and blockchain and stable coins. But we have come a long way, considering that Jamie Dimon was one of the biggest, opposition, the biggest ops against Bitcoin. He was calling us all kinds of bad things. He was basically saying, like, you're un-American if you're investing in Bitcoin, if you're trying to save in Bitcoin, like, you know, I don't want anything to do with you early in the Bitcoin journey. And then again, since Larry Fink came out, now Jamie Dimon, basically after he positioned himself with his personal product from JP Morgan, now he's embracing it, which I think is in itself a form of victory here. The fact that, hey, they capitulated. They have to now embrace this, I think, is a W, but it's still going a long way. Obviously, I think that is the signal there where he essentially didn't say Bitcoin at all. He said crypto, blockchain, and stablecoins, which sounds like 2017 narratives here. Like, what year are we in? But again, the fact that they are talking about it, I think, is the W, as Nika always likes to say. If you're not in the room, then, you know, you have no power. And now we are part of the conversation, whether it's how we like it or not. We are in the conversation. They know that when they go to these forums and these conferences, that someone's going to ask them about Bitcoin or crypto or whatever, you know, blockchain and stable coins and stuff. So, like, we have come a long way. But I think there's still a lot more to go. And I think this is where it really leans into, look, at this point, you do not want to give them your Bitcoin. You want to hold it in cold storage, secure your Bitcoin. I wouldn't be trusting these Wall Street institutions with my Bitcoin to get their yield. And, you know, from our perspective, I would be going to Ledin, not JP Morgan, but hey, I'm a Bitcoiner and they are a partner of this show. So I'm just very concerned about what is the next attack vector. And I think that part of that attack is trying to capture Bitcoin. They know they can't stop it. So what are they going to do? They're going to try to incentivize us as much as possible to give them control of our Bitcoin. And I think this is kind of laying the groundwork for that. But also, you know, they're at a symposium here, a round table, literally a like Dr. Evil round table here, and they're talking about Bitcoin. So it is a W in itself. I think it is symbolic of where we are right now. But the fact he said crypto, blockchain, and, you know, talking about his stablecoin, I think there's still a lot of work to go here.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, everybody, it's going to be a great show. We started with the realities in the beginning of the show. During the intro segment, we told you guys about what is the reality, what has happened, what has transpired over these last 10 months. You know, Bitcoin, again, is barely making all-time highs against gold, even though it's been 4 years. We've been going sideways. We've actually lost $2,000 versus when Trump was inaugurated, Bitcoin was at 109K. 10 months later, we're at $107,000. So we've actually gone down a little bit. I know I'm nitpicking the dates, but again, I'm looking at it from Trump's inauguration date. That's really the day that I'm looking at it, when he took the presidency. You know, this was the pro-Bitcoin president, right? And the fact is that despite Kamala and despite Joe Biden and Operation Choke Point 2.0, despite all of that, take me back to Operation Choke Point 2.0, because at least you know,
We got a gain.
at least the price was pumping, bro. You know, the end of Operation Choke Point 2.0, and then
Yeah,
what the hell is going on?
remember he promised us 150 early, and I this feels late now.
Right. So, you know, again, we still got 2 months we still got 2 months left of the year. You know, it's October 30th. So we still got November and December that's being lined up ahead of us. So anyways, before we get to that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be right back. In just a sec. We're going to hit the news segment. You guys are going to want to stay tuned, because we're going to give you the other perspective of what could potentially happen to Bitcoin during 2026. We're going to be right back in just a bit.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Ledin, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. Unlock the liquidity in your Bitcoin without having to sell your Bitcoin. They've issued $9 billion in loans to over 10,000 customers since 2018. I absolutely love these guys. Not only do I have an account with them, but I also have a loan. And what I love about them is that there are no monthly payments, and you could pay back the loan at any time. As soon as you send your Bitcoin as collateral, you'll have cash in your account within 24 hours. Over 1,000 five-star customer reviews, and they've never lost a single dollar or sat of customer money. Go to learn.ledin.io/simply today, and you'll get 0.25% off your first loan. I want to give a shout out to our partner, sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money, it's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail in hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones, they don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin citadel. Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, BitKey. If you already self-custody your Bitcoin, you know the deal with hardware wallets by now. Complex setups, clumsy interfaces, and a seed phrase that can be lost, stolen, or forgotten. BitKey fixes that. BitKey is a multi-sig hardware wallet built by the team behind Square and Cash App. It packs a cryptographic recovery system and built-in inheritance feature into an intuitive, easy-to-use wallet with no seed phrase to sweat over. It's simple, secure, self-custody without the stress. Time named BitKey one of the best inventions of 2024. Get 20% off at bitkey.world. That's BITKEY.world with the code SIMPLY. All right, everybody, we are back. Guys, if you guys want to help support the show, get yourself some limited edition merch at simplybitcoin.com. Bitcoin is going to zero. Get that shirt. I'm just kidding. It says Bitcoin is going to add another zero. It feels like Bitcoin's going to zero. All this merch, again, is not drop shipped. We buy the inventory beforehand. It's extremely high quality. It has custom detailing. It says Simply Bitcoin on the thing. And it says Bitcoiner slavery. Again, get yours while supplies last. These have been flying off the shelves. At least something good is happening. Yeah, get yours while supplies last. If you guys want to help support the show, choose what you'd like. A hodl sweater, a Bitcoin is going to add another zero t-shirt. This is not a negotiation. Get whatever design you like best. Anyways, let's get through to the news. I told you I'd give you a more positive outlook on things on today's show. The first show I'm back in I think 2 weeks or so. Shout out to Opti and my wife Sophia for holding it down while I was gone. But here is Joe Consorti. Joe Consorti says Bitcoin's 90-day volatility has been this low in just 7.6% of its history, exclusively during late bear or early bull markets. Each time it hits this low, Bitcoin's price has climbed higher over the ensuing 6 months. The coiled spring is very real. I don't know about that. But moving on to Whale Panda. Whale Panda has been absolutely losing his mind. So he is class of 2013 OG Bitcoiner. And let's just go through some of these comments. I always get the comment, sell then, or you sold, you want the price to crash. I didn't, and no, I don't. I don't have to. Can hold for 10 years. I just see the numbers, and they don't add up. There's currently nothing bullish in Bitcoin, with all other markets are taking off. I always get the comment, sell then. I know this is him retweeting it. Another day, another abysmal performance, but it's only thanks to the ETFs that BTC recovered after FTX. FTX didn't even have BTC on the books anymore. It was a normal bear market low, same as other bear markets. It's the bull market after the introduction of ETFs that failed. This is what mental illness looks like. This is also why this market is no longer fun to trade and why I keep saying that the Bitcoin market looks cooked, right? And this is what we've been experiencing this bull market over and over again. And this is what I heard American Hodl, I think he was on Bram's podcast, a shout out to Bitcoin for Millennials, and he was talking about this exact phenomenon. So what am I talking about? I had a feeling when we hit 126K that we were going to go down. Before, in previous Bitcoin bull markets, when you hit an all-time high, when Bitcoin hit 10K, it was going to go to 15. It was going to go to 20. You had price discovery. The price discovery now is like you know, you go up, what was it? It's like, it was the all-time high was 124K. Then we went back down. Then we went back up as 126K. Then we're back down to 106K now. We've broken into 106K region. But anyways, I told you guys this was going to be positive. So we're going to pivot the conversation.
Wait. Can I chime in here real quick? Because I think the big signal from Whale Panda is that part where he said the Bitcoin market is no longer fun to trade. And I think that's why he's been losing his mind, because he is a trader and also like a notorious shitcoiner. So that'd be just my takeaway. Let's get bullish here, Nico.
Yeah, let's get bullish. All right. So this is the moment that you guys all been waiting for. What am I talking about? So we've been realistic, right? In the beginning of the show, showing you guys the numbers. Of course, telling you guys our own opinions, people that make content every single day about Bitcoin. Literally, we've been making content every single day about Bitcoin. The Bitcoin price has been going sideways for 10 months. Okay. So it's not been, you know, so great mental health wise. But anyways, we told you guys the reality of the situation. Then we showed you guys, you know, again, you know, some different takes by different people in the community. And now we're going to show you guys this take, which is the potential of Bitcoin going into 2026. Now, the reason that I think this is a probability is because one of the things that worried me about this cycle specifically was the fact that everybody was on board. It kind of reminded me of the 2021 cycle when everyone thought Bitcoin was going to hit $100,000. It was like confirmed. It was guaranteed. That's what everyone was thinking. It was like, oh my God, this is going to be fantastic. But that never came to be. That never happened, right? So what is interesting is that no one is really anticipating potentially Bitcoin continuing to ride into 2026. No one is talking about it. And here is Joe Carlasari. And I believe he was on a podcast with, I think it was American HODL. He was on Preston Pish's podcast. And they were talking about this. They were talking about Bitcoin potentially going into 2026. Now, the fact that I'm saying that, and I kind of feel uncomfortable saying that, and it feels a little bit taboo, tells me that this isn't the general consensus. The general consensus right now, what everyone believes Bitcoin is going to do is that, listen, if it does, Bitcoin already peaked in October, and now we're heading into a bear market in 2026. That's the general consensus. That's not how markets work, right? So markets tend to do the exact opposite of what everyone is thinking. What did the Bitcoin markets do this year? They did the exact opposite of what everyone was thinking and anticipating. So I want you guys to hear this take by Joe Carlasari, because I think it's a really good one.
Okay, guys, quick message for you. If you're selling Bitcoin right now because you need to pay down some debt, because you want to put that down payment on a house, because you want to buy your fiance a diamond ring, I don't judge. I don't blame anybody who wants to sell Bitcoin to go after something you really care about in life. But if you're selling Bitcoin right now because you're under the ridiculous impression you're going to be able to buy it 50, 60% lower because it's the last year of a 4-year cycle, you're moronic. If you think that's going to happen, you think just because in the past this has always occurred, that it's guaranteed to happen in the future, you should be prepared to take a big L on this one. You should be prepared to be FOMOing back in above 200,000 where we're going next year. Because the market doesn't let everybody win in such a simple way.
Boom. So this is, again, this is kind of where you're starting to hear this trickling, you know, out of a lot of people. Also, British HODL comes from this school of thought as well, right? And again, the way that British HODL put it was that this is, first of all, Joe Carlasari, whatever. I didn't know you'd listen to bangers, bro. But
that was like Marilyn Manson.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know what he was. I was not expecting that. But, you know, one of the things that British HODL was talking about was like, look, like, you know, and you know how British HODL, you know how he says things and stuff, but he was talking about, he's like, look, we only have 3 data points. There's only 3 data points. We only have 3 data points. Why? Like you're going to make an assumption based on 3 data points. Like that's crazy. Right. So, you know, again, this could be cope. This could be this time is different, but I'll tell you what I'm starting to believe. And again, it could be cope on my end, is that again, this is really strange. This is very strange. Like I've been in Bitcoin for a decade. I've never seen a year where it's literally flatlined. I've never seen that before. And going back to George Bourdain's post, right? The fact that so many people, there's so much sell pressure, of Bitcoin over $100,000, and the fact that that sell pressure is getting absorbed for now. Again, I think we are heading into uncharted territory. So again, I think that this could be a possibility because of Wall Street's involvement. Here's another follow-up post by Joe Carlosari. He says, this is the most bullish market structure in Bitcoin's history. I challenge you to find another period where we have consolidated near the all-time high for basically a year. All your models are broken. And then it follows up with a post by The Real Plan C. Really interesting. Great chart by Smithson. We've had Smithson on the show before. More evidence that this cycle is going to be extended. In fact, this ratio suggests we haven't even entered the true bull market yet. And that's the thing that I want to harp on. Do you believe, I want to ask you your guys' honest opinion. Do you believe that Bitcoin has been in a bull market this year? Yes or no? Opti, I'll ask you.
No, not at all.
Not at all, right? So Bitcoin hasn't been in a bull market. Like, let's be honest. If anything, it's had downward volatility. It went from 109K to 76K back to 126K. But if you just map it out, it's been pretty straightforward. And we're back at 107K. So it hit 109K when Trump was inaugurated. 10 months later, it's $2,000 below that. Like that doesn't seem like bull market stuff. And again, if you compare and contrast with 2017, which was another year after the halving, the year started with Bitcoin at $1,000 and it ended with 20. Now we had a horrific hangover the year after, but at least we had volatility upwards. There was some 50% swings in between, but there was volatility. This has been straight. It's literally been a straight line, right? So moving on to this post by Smithson. Now, Smithson and Plan C are really interesting fellas. And the reason they're really interesting fellas is because they're the ones that have come up with these models, right? These quantile models, and it kind of takes into account the power law, and and it kind of gives you like a range of where the Bitcoin price would be, what the top range would be, what the bottom range would be, et cetera, et cetera. So first, Smithson says, first I showed you gold. Now I haven't seen this. Pay attention. Copper/gold ratio. The peaks of this metric and BTC price are extremely well aligned historically. As an important macroeconomic signal, when it trends down, it signals a risk-off environment. Since higher copper represents more industrial activity and higher gold represents flight to safety, to me, this is one of the most compelling signals out there. We're going higher, friends. And again, this was posted October 28th. So let's try to decipher what this chart is. And again, it shows you BTC bull, BTC bear accumulation, copper, gold bull, copper, gold bear, again, 1,000-day moving average, et cetera, et cetera. So as you could see, right, like, look at that. I mean, you can kind of see some correlations there, right? And this hasn't moved back up. The last time this moved back up the way it did was back in 2021. The last time before that was 2017. The last time before that was 2014, or the end of 2013, right? So again, this could be uncorrelated, this can be unconnected, but for now, the cycles are a thing until they're not. But what I'm really liking about this theory is that it goes against mainstream consensus. Mainstream consensus is that we're in a cycle. If you look at all the analysts, and I actually tweeted this out the other day, and the tweet did pretty good, Opti, but I said something along the lines of like, I bet you Wall Street right now has all of at Bitcoin X and all of Bitcoin YouTube tech analysis channels, and I bet you they're just trading the opposite and they're just making a fortune, right? So what is the consensus right now? If I'm telling you guys that there's a possibility that Bitcoin's bull market extends into 2026, it's taboo. It's an unpopular opinion. It's not general consensus. The general consensus is that the cycles are a thing, that it has to peak in October, November, and December, that we might have peaked. But going back, if you could pull up the Wall Street cheat sheet, Opti, I'd really appreciate it. Yeah, no, I tweeted this out the other day. But if you could pull up the Wall Street, Wall Street cheat sheet again, like I'm gonna ask you guys, did you feel euphoria? Did you feel, disbelief? Did you feel any of those emotions during this cycle? I think we saw like little inklings of it. I think November, the latter half of 2024, I think we had some positive price action. But did we ever really enter a mania phase? Right? We never did. We never entered the mania phase, right? So, we kind of were in the hope phase in the beginning of October. Then October just rug pulled us completely, right? We could be in the disbelief phase again, right? Look, this is a suckers rally, Opti, right? This is a suckers rally, bro. And then you kind of enter into the disbelief phase, right? We're definitely not in the hope phase. I'll tell you that for sure. But
dude, we're in the anger.
But we
shorted the market. Daddy Trump, do something.
But we've never entered the optimism, belief, the thrill, the euphoria phase. We have not. It has not happened in 4 years. That has not happened for Bitcoin. It's been this like long and methodical shot, like upwards price movement. But we haven't had a parabola. And I know what people are saying. They're saying, Nico, pull up the gold chart, Opti, please. You're saying like, Nico, like that's impossible, dude. It's too big of an asset. You can't have a parabola in such a large asset now that the institutions are here, because, the institutions are going to, take away the volatility, and that's not possible. And, those are all like the excuses and the cope. Like, this is the effing gold chart. This is something that has a $30 trillion market cap. And what does that look like to you? Excuse my language. That looks like a fucking parabola to me, bro. Okay? That looks like a parabola. Gold literally mooned. Gold, the metal bar thing. So to tell me that Bitcoin can't do the same, it's a $2 trillion market cap, I think that's BS. So Bitcoin went parabolic, Bitcoin next. It's interesting that you pulled that comment up. When I saw Larry Lepard in Montreal, he said the same thing. He's like, I'm so bullish on Bitcoin because gold is mooning, right? So, and it was $150, 2000, gold went parabolic, BTC next. That's all. I don't know. That I'll tell you this, guys. The non-consensus is that the cycles are the non-consensus is that 2026 is going to be a bull market. It's going to continue the bull market. The Bitcoin price is going to keep going up. That's the non-consensus right now. That's the unpopular opinion. The unpopular opinion is that the cycle could be prolonged. I could be wrong here, right? The cycles are a thing until they're not. So we're not going to know until the end of December. We're going to know for sure. And now another thing I'll do before I pass the mic, because I've been on my soapbox for a little bit. If we have peaked, if 126 was the peak, we're not going to have, I don't know, right? I don't have a crystal ball. But if you don't have a mania phase, if you don't have a parabola, those drawdowns of 60, 70, 80% are more unlikely, right? So if you don't go crazy, the price doesn't go crazy, you don't really get a hangover, right? So we might be in this phase where 2026 could be a down year, but it could be a down year the same way that 2025 was a sideways year. It's kind of like this slow trickling. And now I'll drop you my last conspiracy theory. You can call it that, whatever you want to call it. is potentially they might not want to announce the strategic Bitcoin reserve until Trump has his bags packed. That could literally as simple as that. As soon as he has his bags packed, the United States, we're launching a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Bitcoin literally 2 or 3x's in a matter of 2 or 3 months. The Trump family makes a fortune. They've been making a fortune off of this stuff, by the way. You don't think that, Baron Trump isn't shorting Bitcoin right before his dad is saying, oh, we're going to impose 100% tariffs on China? Like, you don't think he's doing that? Like, come on now. That's not at all what's happening, right? So that's that. Again, there's no way to confirm that, but follow the incentives. At the end of the day, look, the Trump family is going to benefit from Bitcoin mooning. But at the same time, if they can use the power of the presidency to accumulate more Bitcoin, to shake Bitcoin out of weak hands and to get it into their hands, I mean, money's money. Money talks. Like, you don't think they're going to do that, right? So anyways, some theories here. Opti, I want to get your takes, bro. It seems like the audience is liking this as well. So
they missed you, bro. They missed you. They missed a Nico Jones rant. Yeah, I mean, I liked your analysis. I think what we can kind of all agree on is that no one had any idea, or rather, me and Nico have been saying this a lot off air. It's like, dude, no one had any clue what the price was going to do this week. Like we were saying earlier, because a lot of us were working on very small data points, of course, looking at the past to kind of predict where the future was going. And I think we all underestimated just the impact that these institutions were having on the price of Bitcoin and or what they are going to do. I think now 10 months into this year, we can all kind of agree on one thing. They are trying to bore us to death. They're trying to get your coins. That's what the price action is telling us. And I think the biggest point to what you said that personally to me, I'm kind of like okay with, look, if we're just going to kind of be, slowly but surely grinding up in the stairway to heaven to $1 million by 2029 or whatever Saylor says, then to me, that just means we're not really going to be seeing crazy bear markets. And as someone that's kind of like put all their apples into one basket and our business revolves around it, yes, we might not get the frothy parabolic run, but we also aren't going to get crazy bear markets. And that maybe that is what comes with maturity. I'm still jonesing over here. I want to see a parabolic run because that's when things are just that much more fun. You just, you feel smart, you feel right. You just feel better about everything you're doing. But again, if it is a slow grind, then what is the market telling you? Like, what is everything that Nico just said? Like, what does that mean for you and what do you do? It's very simple, guys. We tell you this all the time. Like, the strategy doesn't change. It's just accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible. And then maybe, go outside and not look at the charts and not go on Twitter. It's like at this point, the best things we can do is acquire as much Bitcoin as possible, make sure our cash flow is going up so we can acquire more Bitcoin. And then as we're all trying to sit here patiently and wait for the inevitable price rise, you just become the best person that you can be. Like, that's all we can do here because look, we're not the ones moving the price anymore. I don't think retail, even if they do come back in force, I don't think they're going to be able to compete with the billions of dollars that the institutions are bringing into the market. So we're basically, the tail on the dog here. It's no longer the tail wagging the dog. It's the dog wagging its tail, and we're just here for the ride. And so our goals here, our mission here is to hold on to as much Bitcoin as possible, continue to acquire more Bitcoin, and don't get shaken out of our positions. Because look, I would love to see 2026 be a parabolic run. I've been saying this for a minute that it does feel like with this new investor, things are changing. They are basically bringing the Wall Street kind of trading mechanisms to Bitcoin. And since Bitcoin is a $2 trillion asset, they are very capable of controlling the price in the short term, but in the long term, they're not going to be able to do that. And then on the flip side, like Nico was saying about the gold market, everyone's been saying diminishing returns, Nico. I know you were on the diminishing returns train for a little bit, and if we learned anything from the gold price moving, it's that doesn't mean a thing, and Bitcoin can add trillions of dollars to its market cap in a very short time, which is something a lot of Bitcoiners have been saying is impossible. I think gold is kind of really thoroughly blew up that thesis. You just need a lot of people that really want this Bitcoin thing, like we saw with gold. Gold literally in its very small decline lost 1.5x the Bitcoin market cap, and everyone's telling us that it can't go up and add trillions to its market cap in a very short time. I think all our models are broken, and we really have no idea what's going to go on. And so I think the end of this year is going to be very important to watch. And of course, Q1 and Q2 of 2026 is going to be very important to watch. I think the next, 3 to 5 years are going to be extremely bullish for Bitcoin. Someone said it the other day, Nico, I forget who it was, but they said, I think the Bitcoin price is going to pump all the way through the Trump administration, and we're never really going to get a bear market. And I'm starting to think that is the case, that they are acquiring the coin right now, packing their bags. And as I used to call it on the show, the billionaire player playbook is you FUD Bitcoin, you stack sats, and then once you're ready, once your bags are packed, you unleash the tsunami into Bitcoin and you pump the price. Now, of course, they're doing something a little different. They are positioning, especially like use BlackRock as an example. They are positioning their clients and their customers to get into Bitcoin via the ETF. So if you can kind of give them the idea that they can kind of in the short term manipulate the price, then what do you think they're trying to do? They're trying to keep the price low so that the clients can get in. And then once we get to a point where like everyone's bags are packed, bro, they're going to rip this thing. So I think 2026, I hate to say it. I say it all the time, and I know it's going to dump and it's probably going to be wrong. But dude, this time does feel different. I think at this point, 2026 might be the year. Who was the one in the chat saying super cycle 2026?
Look,
you might be right.
We're going to be along for the ride for you guys, right? And let's see. This is uncharted territory already. This is uncharted territory. I just want to let you guys know that right now we're in uncharted territory. This is the first red October in the year after the halving. That's never happened before, right? So already we are seeing things that have never happened before, right? And you can speculate as to why that is. Everyone was predicting October. You heard it on X. That everyone was predicting that. Everyone. And that's not how markets work, right? So the general consensus, what everyone is still anticipating, is that we're going to have a fantastic end of the year. What I don't see a lot of people anticipating is, I don't even want to call it an extended bull market, because we haven't even been in a bull market, right? But what no one is anticipating,
just 4 year cycle's dead.
What no one is anticipating is that potentially the bull market actually starts in 2020. That even sounds crazy, me saying that. That sounds kooky. That sounds like I'm coping, right? But that's what I'm saying. That's so against the mainstream consensus right now that, again, I wouldn't be surprised if it happened. Now, again, what I've learned this year, differentiating from every other year, is that no one has any idea what's going to happen. Your favorite influencer, your favorite YouTuber, your favorite X account, every single person has gotten this year catastrophically wrong. Thank God we don't make price predictions, right?
Oh, yeah. We just cover them.
No, I mean, we give a general, we cover what the market is saying, but we don't make price predictions.
300K by end of year.
No, we didn't say that.
I'm trolling.
We didn't say that. None of this is financial advice. We're just here to entertain. But anyways, we're going to get to the culture segment. We're going to be talking about Lugano. I was just there for the Plan B Forum, one of the best Bitcoin conferences of the year, thrown by our friends over at Tether. So definitely, we're going to stay tuned. A lot of things happened. Had some very high-profile interviews, which I enjoyed the hell out of. So we're going to be right back in just a bit. Stay tuned.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technology. Why HIVE in 2025? Unstoppable growth. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's position to quadruple their global footprint, making them one of the world's fastest growing miners in 2025. And with elite operations that consistently top the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash, HIVE's now headquartered in the USA. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable Bitcoin mining. You can catch the latest buzz at HIVE Digital Tech or at HIVEdigitaltech.com. I want to give a shout out to our partner, BitcoinBend.io. If you're into freedom, Bitcoin, and building a real community, this is for you. Gain exclusive access to real-world, members-only, private clubs across the globe, featuring poker nights, expert-led classes, co-working spaces, educational meetups, live events, and more. Current locations include Sarasota, Nashville, Boston, Dallas, Las Vegas, and St. Louis, with new clubs launching soon in West Palm Beach, Scottsdale, Alabama, and beyond. Not to mention Bitcoin Bend's resorts in El Salvador. There's 3 of them, and they're absolutely beautiful. You'll also get access to the first fully backed Bitcoin bank with fiat ramps and savings accounts. It's called Private Key Bank, and you guessed it, it's based out of El Salvador. Go peer-to-peer with Bitcoin bulk buys, tap into home equity for long-term Bitcoin growth, and join their exclusive mining pools if you're interested in mining. What are you waiting for? Head over to bitcoinbend.io, join today, where Bitcoin meets freedom.
All right, guys, we are back. And to be honest, I think I'm more excited about this because we haven't. All Nico told me is he's tired. I don't even know what he did over in Lugano. Really, all I know is he did some interviews. I seen him on Twitter. I'm gonna pull him up and go through it. But Nico, I mean, you were talking to all of the biggest Bitcoiners. Did you learn anything? Can you provide some wisdom to the audience here? What was your biggest takeaway in Lugano?
Oh man, I mean, it just the Tether guys just throw such an amazing conference. And it was just a pleasure to
wait, this isn't a volcano though, huh?
No, it's not a volcano.
Okay.
It's facing the lake of Lugano. I think it is called the Lake of Lugano. And I got to talk to Samson, Saifedean, Chris Pavlovsky, the CEO of Rumble, Paolo, the CEO of Tether, Hafa, the CEO of Electron, and I got to live stream from the Rumble stage that they had at the conference, which was really, really cool. Of course, I got to interview Adam Back in a rainstorm behind us, but it's still going to look absolutely epic and movie-like when we drop those interviews. So yeah, I mean, it was pretty crazy having all those interviews kind of back to back to back to back. That was pretty hectic, but yeah, it was a whole lot of fun. And you know what was really interesting too about this conference is the optimism about just Bitcoin and the future of Bitcoin and the future of this market. And no one was talking about the price. No one even cared about the price. No one was even talking about where Bitcoin was going. I actually did talk to Samson about the Omega candle because this is the second time I've interviewed Samson this year, and the first one, it was like epic with this epic volcano backdrop and all this stuff. And then 10 months later, or what was it, 7 months later, 8 months later, price has been kind of the sideways or the same, right? So we did have that in the conversation. All those interviews are going to be dropping soon, but yeah, it was a fantastic conference. Lugano is such a beautiful city, and again, I do want to give a shout out to the Plan B Forum team and Tether for putting together such a fantastic conference. It's one of my favorite conferences of the year, actually. That and the Bitcoin conference, and of course, Mining Disrupt and BitBlock Boom. The Plan B Forum in Lugano is going to be is one of my favorite. I'm going to be going back to El Salvador to the Plan B Forum El Salvador conference in January, so that's going to be a whole lot of fun. But yeah, man, that's what I've been doing these last 2 weeks. I was in Montreal for the Canadian Bitcoin conference, which we live streamed for you guys until Francis and Nolan went on stage, and then I kind of had to cut the stream for obvious reasons. But if you want to see the entire thing, just watch the Rumble version. Yeah, it was just 2 weeks of crazy traveling, traveling and meeting with people, and it was a whole lot of fun. So,
well, before we go, it seems like you're trying to wrap up. Was there any nuggets of wisdom that you can pass on to the audience? Like, what's one or two things that you heard that stuck with you in regards to where Bitcoin is at the current moment?
I think that this industry is here to stay. I think that, you know, this is just the beginning of something, you know, fantastic. I think, you know, if you're in your 20s or your 30s, like Opti and I, you know, 10, 15, 20 years from now, I think Bitcoin is going to be, it's going to be part of the financial system. I think we've already won. Like, this is what I want you guys to understand. Like, you know, this year has been one of the most fantastic years from like a news perspective, and it's made our job easy until now, of course. But, you know, for like 2 or 3 years, we were fighting, you know, and I actually, you know, it's like the news was horrible and depressing, but at least the price was going up. Like now the news is all positive and, you know, like
the price goes down.
We've won and the price is just going sideways. So, you know, I don't know which one I'd rather, you know, be, you know, I don't even want to say that, but you know, like being persecuted, at least, you know, at least the price was pumping, and at least like every single day we felt like we were on the front line, you know. Now that's different now, right? So I've been tweeting this for a while now. Someone said it in the chat. Maybe we could pull up that tweet. But yeah, like we've already won. Like this is just a fact. Like we've won. We've been winning for a long time. Obviously, you know, just the price hasn't reflected that, but this is, you know, the best is yet to come, in my opinion. And I think, like I said, I'm kind of feeling what Joe Carlasari is feeling, right? You know, I wouldn't be surprised if 2026 was, again, it feels so taboo that tells me that it's against what the market is thinking and believing. The market is thinking and believing that in December it's a wrap. That's the general consensus, right? And
I mean, I have friends telling me it's already been topped.
And that's the general consensus, right? And it could be it. But the thing is, that's not the way it works. That's not the way it works. I have to say that over and over again. That's not the way markets work. The way markets work is that they do the exact opposite of what everyone else is thinking, right? So if everyone else is thinking, think about it right now. How do you feel right now? What is the general feeling right now? The general feeling is doom and gloom. The market's peaked, it's over, pack it up, take it home. That's not the way it works. When the market peaked in 21, everyone thought what? We were going to go higher, right? When the market peaked in 2017, everyone thought what? We were going to go higher. What is everyone thinking right now? We're going to go lower. It's over. It's done. Pack it up. So I'm just making some observations, but again, I think it's going to be really exciting for Opti and I to cover this for you guys, because this is already uncharted territory, and I suspect it's going to continue to be uncharted territory. This is the first Red October in the year after the halving. Never happened before in Bitcoin's history. So November, I think it's going to be something that we've never seen before. And December is going to be something that we've never seen before. And January is the same. And mind you, this is all happening with a pro-Bitcoin administration, right? Mid next year, you have a changing of the guards, the changing of the chairman of the Federal Reserve, right? I know Trump and Powell have been kind of going back and forth. So yeah, and in December you have the end of QT, right? And we might be entering into an era of QE. So money printer go burr, right? So anyways, we're gonna leave it with that, guys. Happy to be back in the hot seat. I'm gonna be back for the next 2 weeks or so until Opti and I go to Mining Disrupt in a couple weeks for we're gonna go to Dallas for Mining Disrupt. But we're gonna be here for the next, literally for the next December and most of January.
Forever.
I'm not going to be traveling. I'm so happy. So I'm going to be here covering the news for you guys every single day. And, you know, hopefully we do get some news. Hopefully some things happen and maybe we start talking about pop culture or something, dude. Something to talk about. But anyways, guys, happy to be back. Love you guys. Happy missed this show. We were able to get to 4:30 today, which is great. If you guys enjoyed on YouTube, if you guys enjoyed today's show, you guys know what to do. Smash the like button. Consider subscribing to Simply Bitcoin if you feel like we provided you value. We love you all. We appreciate you all. We wouldn't be here without you. And of course, we'll be back tomorrow for the Friday episode, the last episode of the week of Simply Bitcoin Live. Until then, catch you guys later.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.